if you're going to be a leader in the National Medical Association, you should have some concept of how the organization is put together. Nobody better than Dr. Winston Price to do that. And our final panel is really going to be one of our most important, with Dr. Camille Clare, to talk about the locals affiliations, because that's really the entry point where you can make the biggest difference in trying to move in the leadership positions in the NMA. And we do want you to be here for that. So let's go. Which one is it? Okay, go ahead.
So one of the things about being a leader that you have to understand is being flexible. And so I want you to judge me by the content of the moderation I do for this program, not by the color of my clothes. All right? So the important thing you heard in terms of the history, and we're going to move pretty fast, but this is the meats of the leadership forum. Because leadership is not just about getting in front of people and having them follow your mandate. Jonestown had a leader, had a very strong leader, but it wasn't in the best interests of the people that he was directing. And so the leadership in the NMA, based on our wealth of history, as you heard, is about developing and honing your skills. Come on up, Cedric. Honing your skills of integrity, honesty, and collegiality to work with one another. And so what you're going to hear in the meats of this particular presentation is how the House of Delegates, which represents the organization, is structured. You're going to hear about the Constitution and bylaws, which is the basis of how we operate, both from the B-NMA to the A-NMA, according to Dr. Hood, or Reverend Hood. And then also we want to talk about how we deal with infractions within the structure of our organization. So with that as a backdrop, I'd like to call Dr. Javette Orgain. And every organization has a body, so she's going to help you understand what the body of our organization is.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure. As Dr. Price said, and as others have said, our CVs or our bios are in the program, so I believe that there are still some available. The overriding principle that I'd like to deal with is parliamentary authority and parliamentary law. And so the purpose as we come together in meeting is to facilitate orderly transaction of business and to promote cooperation and harmony. And so that's what we do in our meetings, that's what we should do in our House of Delegates, and that's what we should do. So the basic rules of that would be equality of rights. So that means the minority have as many rights as the majority in regards to what we do, although the majority rules. And the right to discussion, the right to talk in a collegial manner, the right to get the information from all of your leaders, from all of your councils, from all of your committees at every level, from your staff and your national office. And that's the overriding principle of what we need to do when we're talking about leadership in general, leadership here at the NMA, and leadership as you go out into your state, local, and regional places, and fairness and good faith in our deliberations. And I think that that's been talked about, but I'm going to name it as fairness and good faith in our deliberations. So in terms of the authorities, you have our organizational chart, but as we talk about our leadership and our authorities, first we have to deal with our state statute and our articles of incorporation. And I guess most of you know that we are incorporated in the state of New Jersey, and I wanted to bring that to your attention again, that we are incorporated in the state of New Jersey. And our Constitution and bylaws, in terms of the hierarchy, it starts with our statute and our articles of incorporation for New Jersey, and we have to deal with that from a legal perspective in terms of what we do. And the next, in terms of the hierarchy, would be our Constitution and bylaws. And again, from a perspective of what you have in your hands as you are in meetings, you should be familiar with the pages of our Constitution and bylaws. And then the next would be our standing rules. And now they've changed over the years, and what is not in our Constitution and bylaws should be in our standing rules, so that the operating and the operations are not in our Constitution and bylaws, but the details go into our standing rules, and we absolutely need to look at them. And our current current Vice Speaker has put that into information that you can go online and see. And the next, and I brought it with me, is Robert's Rules of Order in terms of hierarchy. Robert's Rules of Order. This is the 11th edition, and I'm proud to say that the grandson of Roberts has signed mine. And so from the perspective of what you have, it's Robert's Rules of Order. Be familiar. You see my tabs here. All right, because I'm also a member of the National Association of Parliamentarians. So that is something that you should have in your pocket every time you come to our meetings and every time you participate in the House of Delegates. Next is from the perspective of who, in terms of authority, whoever is in the chair position at the time, the Speaker of our House of Delegates, those are the authorities, and I'm going to run them down again in terms of how we go down. It's our state statute, our articles of incorporation, our constitution and bylaws, our standing rules of order, Robert's Rules of Order, and then the person who is sitting in the chair and the Speaker is the order in which we deal with. And lastly, what I'd like to encourage you, and you know I'm a parliamentary geek, but we always get into our House of Delegates and we do friendly members, and there's no such thing as a friendly amendment. You can vote no, and if it's not right, fix it. So I encourage all of those who might be interested in the whole order in regards to our organization to also consider joining the National Association of Parliamentarians, or to make sure that at every meeting you attend that you are referencing our Constitution and bylaws, you're referencing our rules of order, and you have Robert's Rules of Order in your pocket. And so thank you for the opportunity to speak. Okay. And I was asked, where can you find a copy of the Constitution and bylaws in regards to our meeting? If you are not a delegate, certainly it is online. Your membership allows you to go into NMANet.org and go to the Constitution and bylaws that's online. If you are a delegate, you are going to get a flash drive of the most recent Constitution and bylaws, and I'm stealing everybody's thunder from the House, but you will get a flash drive that has our most recent Constitution and bylaws with its amendments from November of 2017. And I had the pleasure of serving as a consultant to that committee that revised our Constitution and bylaws. And a good hand to Kevin McKinney and the committee that did that in regards to what we needed in an update in our Constitution and bylaws. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Regain. And most organizations get into problems when the members that are in the leadership positions try to operate in an anarchy, in a vacuum, and use old versions of their Constitution and bylaws. And so, Cedric, as a former Speaker of the House and a former past president, can you give us some understanding of the structure here so that people understand as a leader you can't just bypass the directions and goals and interface of how the organization is structured?
So from that perspective, thank you, Winston, and good afternoon to everyone. So thank you for that you're here today. You can see the organizational structure that we have put up here on the screen for your viewing. And basically what we have is a really good schematic that helps you to understand where's the nidus of power. The House of Delegates is our house of power. Everything that the board does has to come before the House of Delegates to be voted on either up or down. So oftentimes there's been a discussion between who was stronger, the chair of the board versus that Speaker of the House of Delegates. In this schematic, it shows that the House of Delegates is supreme and that the board falls under that purview. And so that's one thing I really want folks to truly understand. But the power of this organization rests in your hands as members, and that is in the aspects of participating in our councils and committees. And that is the place where I found my ability to hone my leadership skills and to become worthy of becoming a president, if there is such thing as being worthy of becoming one. And the aspect that I spent a lot of time in the Health Policy and Government Affairs Committee. And in that role, I worked with a lot of our past presidents to discuss issues of the day and how we would craft policies and make responses to issues of the day in a timely manner. And in that way, that helped to prepare me as a president in the aspect that I was well versed in many different topics. So it first starts off of having that ability to first serve. What it is said is that the greatest among you will be a servant of all. And that servant leadership is really where we should all begin, because everybody has a chance to be special, because everybody has a chance to serve. So what I would encourage you to do is first learn to serve. First learn to serve. Whether that's local, whether it's at your state, whether that's in your community, whether that's in your church, whether it's in your PTA, wherever it is, first learn to serve. Learn to navigate and to figure out what is the landscape of the organization for which you're trying to be a part of. And then after you've come to a historical understanding of things, then work on becoming a leader in that organization. It's very tough for you to go straight to the top and you haven't worked at the bottom. And that's really one of the things that I want folks to understand, that it is okay to climb up the ladder of leadership. You don't have to try to go straight to the top. Oftentimes that leads to difficulty in really being an effective leader, because you don't have a base of people that know who you are. So take your time, build your base, work through these committees and councils to help you grow up your leadership ladder, work in your local and your state level, and all of those things will come to fruition one day for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Bright. And most leaders and individuals involved in the organizational structure and governance learn one key behavioral pattern, and that is to praise the people that you're leading when you're having success, and to take the blame when things aren't going well. And so the more you develop that integrity of working with people and giving them the honor for what you're doing, you'll get people coming behind you wanting to work with you and wanting to work on behalf of an organization, and things will progress. But sometimes people fall out of line. Sometimes people even get elected to high office in DC and fall out of line. This is just generalities. We're just talking about leadership, okay? And so there has to be a body that looks at the organizational structure and the Constitution and bylaws, and then serves as a objective body to look at the facts and then pass judgment. So Dr. Natalie Carroll, who runs our council on judicial matters, is going to talk to you about how we handle those who fall out of line, and also issues that just have some discussion necessary. And when your microphone falls out of line, that makes it this guy.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Well, good afternoon. I am chair of the Judicial Council, and have just been on the Judicial Council this time around for the past year. But I have been on it off and on for quite some time now. In any case, I want to thank you for letting me talk about the Judicial Council, because we are an interesting and different council than any of the other councils that we have in our organization. We are in the Constitution, and I want to mention from the standpoint of the Judicial Council how really, really, totally important it is to know your Constitution. And I think everybody up here has pretty much emphasized that, but it is extremely important. That's really true in any organization that you belong to. And I wanted to give one historical note in light of the fact that we lost a former member of our Judicial Council, Tracy Walton. It won't move, it's too connected. The judicial power of the association is vested in the Judicial Council, whose decisions shall be final, and I'm reading that from the Constitution. Either COBB-NMAHI shall be present for all sessions of the House of Delegates and sit in an identified section of the House. We do not vote. We cover such things as membership and the obligation, rights, and privileges of membership, controversies arising under the Constitution and the bylaws, and under the principles of medical ethics to which the National Medical Association is a party. When there are controversies between two or more state societies or their members, we deal with those. We deal with controversies between state and local societies or societies of another association or their members. And the Judicial Council has the appellate jurisdiction in questions of legal procedure, but not a fact in all cases which arise between the state society and one or more of its local societies, between local societies of the same societies, and between members or a member and the local society or state society, and also between members of different local societies of the same state societies. And the period of time within appeals to the Judicial Council may be taken to be limited to 6 months following the date of the decision by the constituted authority of the state society or the date of decision of the Judicial Council. And we are also the body that passes on applications for membership in the National Medical Association as provided in Chapter 1, Sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the bylaws, and specifically as it relates to bringing in new societies. And we also have jurisdiction, of all questions of ethics and the interpretation of the laws of the association. The Judicial Council may, at its discretion, investigate general professional conditions and all matters pertaining to the relations of physicians to one another and to the public. We also have the authority to request the President to appoint investigating juries in which to refer complaints or evidence of unethical conduct. The point of the matter is that we are the body of this organization that determines final answers as it relates to constitutional issues. And that is why I said it's a very different body within our organization. We also like to mention again, it's really good, which she has already said, because I meant to bring my Robert's Rules of Order, that you also remember that we also need to refer to Robert's Rules of Order when we are in question of anything in our procedures as it relates to the Constitution.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll.